What in the world's going on? Are we being invaded by aliens? Nah, just an Alabama fan. Stay tuned, see what I'm talking about. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Kuz's Corner, your new go-to channel for sports, with a heavy dose of West Virginia Mountaineers. Before I get into tonight's special episode, I want to ask that you please subscribe to my channel. Please like my videos, smash that like button if you enjoy the content. Leave comments below, let me know what you think about tonight's show once you've had a chance to see it. Tonight I'm going to be chatting with an Alabama fan. His name's JPC. He's a host of a channel called J&J Outlaw Sports. I ask that you please go check his channel out. He has a lot of very interesting takes on college football. I ask that you go watch his channel. I'll put a link to it in the description box. We're going to talk about West Virginia and Alabama, how there are some similarities in the programs, and I'm going to ask JPC if he thinks West Virginia will ever get to the top of the mountain like Alabama has. Hope you enjoy the interview. Got a very special guest. Got JPC from J&J Outlaw Sports. JPC, how we doing tonight?
All right, brother. How you doing?
Doing well. Doing well. You ready to talk a little college football?
Man, I'm always down for some college football.
I hear you. Hey, so just to give my viewers a little background, you're an Alabama fan, is that correct?
That's right. I was born and raised in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. My mother worked for the university for 37 years. So it really wasn't no hope for me. I was going to be a Crimson Tide fan no matter what, probably more than likely.
I hear you. Well, see, that's my background. I was born and raised in West Virginia, lived here my whole life. Only place I've ever called home, so I bleed gold and blue, man. So I totally understand it. But what I wanted to, I watched one of your videos that you made a few months back, and you were really kind to West Virginia, and I feel like the West Virginia football team. And I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit. As an Alabama fan, obviously you've got to see several national championships, and that's something us West Virginia fans have never got to experience. So I'm a little jealous. But but what do you, in your mind as a fan, what do you think makes Alabama such a successful football program?
Well, the reason why I made that video about West Virginia is because I've thought for quite some time that they have the fan base and the traditions that are already in place at West Virginia to win national championships. I think if they were to just win one national championship, I think it might open the floodgates a little bit for them. I think they just got to get that mindset where they think they can, that they think they're worthy. Because the state of Alabama has no professional teams, just like West Virginia, just like Clemson. You know, Clemson, they only won one national championship before they finally broke through and won a couple this past decade. And they're in a small town as well, just like Alabama is in Tuscaloosa and West Virginia is in Morgantown. So if Clemson can win a national championship and then it opens the floodgates for them, why couldn't that happen for West Virginia? West Virginia has competed on a national scale just as well as Clemson. They just ain't got the national titles yet. I mean, hell, they blew Clemson out in the Orange Bowl about what was about 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
2012.
Yeah, I knew it was about 10 years ago, something like that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, ironically, you talk about West Virginia and the Clemson connection. I was listening to when Neal Brown was hired. One of the things I learned about him was when he was at Troy one summer, he went and basically shadowed. Not really. I don't know if you call it shadowing, but coaches are always trying to get ideas from other coaches. But he went and spent some time with Clemson staff and kind of watched what they do and how they run the program. And he's bringing a lot of that to West Virginia. So that's interesting that you say that because Neal Brown has a lot of Dabo in him, I think, as far as how he wants to run the program. So I think from that perspective, that's definitely a positive because heck, if Clemson can do it, why can't West Virginia do it? Now, obviously, they have an advantage with recruiting a little bit as far as climate goes, but I don't think that's that big a deal, really, to be honest with you. I think if players want to go where they want to play, I don't think climate's going to be a huge factor for them. But so, do you, as coach, talking about Coach Brown for a minute. Do you think Coach Brown has got what it takes to lead West Virginia to the promised land?
From what I've seen at Troy State when he was down here in Alabama, so there's a lot of interconnected things between these three schools. That's why I made that video a while back, because I'm like, there's a lot of connections that just speak to me that West Virginia's on the cusp. All they got to do is get the right guy, have the right combination of players, and it's going to happen, just like it did for Clemson. And Neal Brown, he coached here in Alabama, so he knows what it's all about. He knows how Southern people down here love football and what it takes to get these people riled up and get the boosters behind him, I think. So, he comes to West Virginia, and to me, West Virginia's, like I said, been on the cusp. They had Don Nehlen, who was a great coach back in the 80s, and Major Harris. And if Major Harris hadn't got injured in that Notre Dame game, West Virginia could have already had a national championship. And the states of Alabama and South Carolina, like I said, they're in small schools, so they all have a lot in common to me, especially Alabama and West Virginia. They got a lot of coal mines, a lot of cultural similarities. Like you were saying off air, to me, West Virginia would fit a lot better in the SEC than the ACC or the Big Ten or the Big 12. It's just never happened.
Right. I agree with that. Of course, because our fan bases sell out almost every Saturday. They live it and breathe it.
We know Neal Brown actually beat LSU while he was at Troy State.
Right.
He went to Baton Rouge, and it wasn't like a scrub team either. They were ranked, and they beat them. I mean, if he can win at Troy, I think he can win at West Virginia.
I agree. I think our fans are getting impatient, but I think if they give him enough time, he's only been there 3 years. He's still playing. A lot of his players are Dana Holgerson's recruits. He's still playing with for the most part.
Yeah, he's got to get his system in place for sure.
Exactly. And once he's got a 4 or 5 years in where he's playing with mostly his own guys that he recruited to fit his system, I think we'll see a whole different football team. I mean, the recruiting classes are improving. I mean, his first year here, he only had like half of a recruiting season because he came in late, got hired late, and his first class was as good as Dana's ever were, and he only had a year to recruit a class. So, and I'm like, man, that blew me away. I mean, a guy recruited an entire class in a year, and still ranked as high as Dana did pretty much his whole tenure here. And that just blew me away because, usually you recruit a guy for 2 or 3 years, right?
That's right.
He recruited these guys for a year basically, and was still able to land some talent. And I thought that was impressive, including some in-state talent, which Dana wasn't able to get. I mean, heck, we got Doug Nestor that transferred from Virginia Tech, who's a West Virginia guy. That I don't even think Dana really went after him because he didn't think he could get him. So, and now that Neal's here, he wanted to come here. So, I like Neal Brown a lot. I think he's going to be I think he's the right guy for the job. The only thing that worries me is if an SEC job ever opens up, especially Kentucky, because that's his alma mater. If Mark Stoops ever would ever leave Kentucky, he's probably going to be first on their list, and that would probably be harder for him to pass up. So
yeah, for me though, I think it'd be a lateral move at that point. I think West Virginia's got more tradition in football than Kentucky. If it was me, I wouldn't leave for Kentucky. Now maybe if Alabama came a calling, that might be different. But
now that's another, and that where I mean, you never know. I mean, Saban can't coach forever, right? I mean, I know he just signed an extension, but he's not getting any younger. And at some point, he's going to walk away, and they're going to be looking for somebody. If West Virginia, and if he has gotten West Virginia on the right track by then, and they're winning and competing and ranked every year, and he's on a short list, it'd be hard to pass up that because West Virginia's not going to be able to pay what Alabama pays. I mean, it's just not there.
I think what also works against West Virginia, they can't control this. There's nothing they can do about it. Is geography. They're just smack dab in the middle of every single conference. I mean, you got the Big Ten up north, you have the ACC to the east, you got the Southeastern Conference to the south, and they're stuck in the Big 12 Conference, which is out in the Midwest. And I think maybe sometimes that hurts them a little bit. When they was in the Big East, they were much more lethal when they were in the Big East, I think, when they had natural rivals like Pittsburgh and Penn State and whatnot. But they could get in one of those three conferences eventually. It probably would benefit them more. And I've been harping on them staying in the Big 12 to try to keep that thing together. But honestly, it'd probably be better if they were to get in the ACC or the SEC.
I agree with that. As a fan, I miss those rivalry games with Pitt, Virginia Tech, and having them every year. We're going to play Virginia Tech Saturday, but we only play them 2 years, and then we don't play them again for who knows how long. So I miss those games every year, and our fans will travel to North Carolina or Pittsburgh or Virginia to watch games, and it's hard to travel to Kansas. you know,
Yeah.
There's a lot
Even
of
if y'all in the SEC, I mean, it would be easier to come to
oh yeah,
Tennessee or
Kentucky.
Alabama or even
Hmm.
Georgia or any of
Oh
those
yeah,
other schools. I mean,
absolutely.
Alabama and West Virginia's got a home and home coming up, by the way.
Yeah, I know that. Well, what year is that? I can't remember. I saw it on the schedule. It's several
Uh,
years down the road, if I'm mistaken.
don't quote me, but I think it's maybe 2026 or 27, maybe something
Okay.
like.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think Saban's he just signed an extension for how many years? Well, he's there through what, 26 or 27?
Yeah, they give him a little. I think it was like a 7 or 8 year extension, but I'm like these. I don't think he's gonna make it
Well,
that long.
he's
And
he's 70, isn't he?
yeah, so
So,
he'd
man,
be pushing some Bill Snyder stuff if he done
right.
that.
That's right. JPC, I appreciate your take today. I appreciate the love you've given West Virginia University and the West Virginia football team, and I'll send that love right back to you. Alabama's looking great, man. I think they're going to win another one
So
this year potentially.
when we do that home and home, we all need to get together, and
That'd be
it may
great.
be that, and maybe you can show me how to burn a couch or two.
Well, they won't allow us to do that anymore, JPC. I don't.
We just have to break the law, then, won't we?
Apparently, the ACC didn't like that or fan behavior, so that was one of the excuses for not letting us in the conference 10 years ago. So
Come
they had to
on.
clean up their act, I guess.
Oh
At
man,
least make it appear that way, right?
that's right.
But listen, Kuz's Corner viewers, I asked JPC. He's J&J Outlaw Sports. He talks college football. He puts videos out almost daily. Very interesting takes. I recommend you go check him out and subscribe to his channel. JPC, I appreciate having you, man.
All right, brother.
You
Y'all do
take
the
care of
same.
yourself.